Our first two speakers have had a long time to build and develop the provision, excellent provision that they now have in their schools. And next to Leander and Sal from Smithills Secondary in Bolton, I went to see in March. I think at that point, they had been the EAL coordinators for about 23 working weeks, with very little time each week to do the job, which they'll tell you about. And I was astounded by the difference they had made in such a short time. So I'm now delighted to ask them to tell you how they did it. Leander and Sal.
Yeah. Hi everyone. So yeah, Sal and I are the EAL coordinators at Smithills. Probably about 9 months that we've been in the job, and then we got Silver, which was fantastic. And we're going to talk to you about sort of how we've made such a difference within those 9 months. Because when we came into the role, it really was a case of sort of starting from the bare bones. We had some things in place, but it wasn't shared with other members of staff across the whole school. And so basically, this is what we're going to be talking to you about. So let's just share the screen with you. Can you all see that? Yeah, thank you. Let me just, there we go. Okay, so this was our headline from the Ofsted report in 2018. When Sal and I were not the EAL coordinators. So one of our main foci was that leaders' actions had not had enough impact on the progress of the INA students amongst other groups.
And it then went on further to say that we needed to provide the right academic support and challenge for these pupils.
So just to give you a little bit of an idea about our cohort, 131 of our students, we've got, I think, 1,113 students, 131 are classed as EAL, so that's 12% of our cohort. Currently, obviously we all know what an INA student is. Some of the INA students are already fluent in English, however, others are in the early stages of their English language learning journey. And we know that they all need support during that transition period. So what we did is we actually asked the staff as a school, what are we doing in our departments to ensure that they can access the curriculum? With opening that question up to the rest of the members of staff in our school, it actually got everyone thinking, made the awareness of the INAs accessing the curriculum sort of one of the top priorities, to make sure that they could access everything that everybody else was learning. And we also looked at the fact that some of our INA students were actually missing some data as well. So again, another thing that we did was to make sure that they did the CATS testing so that we could get those raw scores. And then using that, we set reliable targets for them.
So we introduced the banding system in line with the Bell Foundation, and it obviously starts off with A, as you know, which students who are new to English, and then moves all the way down to band E, students who are fluent. So we decided that we wanted to put INA passports together for these students. We focused on A to C because we felt that the teachers, it would give teachers ways in personalising learning for these particular pupils. And we decided to band these passports at the top with colours which represented the band that they were in. So for example, if they were band A, new to English, it was red, and so on. Band B, orange, and then yellow for band C. If they had intervention with our intervention leader, that information would be in green, so they'd be aware of exactly what intervention was taking place within the intervention sessions. And they were reviewed, these passports were then reviewed every term, and in case there were any changes. in terms of their banding and whether they've moved from band A to B, for example.
And then that information's obviously been sent out and shared with subject teachers as well. Something else that we shared with subject teachers is the how-to guide. So basically we put this together just because a lot of the, especially the new staff, the ECTs coming through, when they were faced with a student who came into their class and they didn't have English sort of acquired, then they were almost panicking. And so we said, right, okay, this is what you should kind of expect to see in your classroom from a new to English student. And then we did it by the months, what to expect from the student themselves, so that the teacher isn't worried about what the student's doing or not doing. But then also a couple of tips and hints for what the classroom teacher should do as well. And we sent this out alongside the pupil passport so that they could see sort of what banding the student was, and then kind of what to expect as well for those students who were predominantly band A and band B. On there as well, there's compulsory expectations, but then there's also sort of suggested ones as well. And then we've also explained to the staff that the students with minimal English need to receive personalised learning. It does happen an awful lot across the school, but as you'll probably know, in some of your schools, it doesn't happen all the time by every teacher. So it's making sure that those students were getting that personalised learning, and by using the how-to guide, it sort of gave them a bit more confidence to actually do that. Oh, and obviously using trans-language resources and knowledge organisers and stuff like that that have been translated as well within the subject areas.
So at the moment, we've got 580 of our students at EAL, that's 55.9% of our cohort, which obviously is 3 times the national average, which came from our Ofsted report in 2018. Obviously, we needed to make sure that we had something in place for all these pupils. And as a result, we decided that we needed to have something that teachers could refer to by using, you know, personalised resources, and making sure that we are looking at like resources and adapting
adapting the curriculum.
Yeah, adapting the curriculum to suit these pupils. So we wanted to make sure we were employing quality based teaching strategies in the classroom. This is something that, you know, we've already started doing, and we want to progress this on further, making sure that all teachers are able to personalise for all the for EAL students, as well as those new English speaking children who are band A to C. So at the moment, what we didn't have anything in place on Sims for these pupils. So we decided to get the English department to ban these pupils according to the Bell Foundation banding system. So as you can see on the screen, these pupils were banded depending on where the English teacher felt that they were. So this was now on Sims for teachers to use to be able to personalise within their classrooms. They were also given the Bell Foundation framework so that they could use that alongside the banding system. These are now in colour, so that teachers are aware exactly where this pupil sits in terms of the banding criteria. Routes for INA students were also tailored to each student based on their retrospective skills, scores generated by the CAT scores, to identify what their route flight path would be, rather than a generic 2, 3 or 4 based on their date of entry, which was done in the past. So that's something that we wanted to change as well.
Yeah, so just to clarify, the route system that we use is just basically the MTG, the minimum target grade that we set the students for them to ideally get at GCSE. A little bit of more interesting information about our students. These are the top 10 languages that we've got here at Smithills. There are over 44 different languages. I know it says on there 40, but since we've put this together, we've had a few more students arrive, which is brilliant. We've done loads and loads of things.
Yeah.
One of the main things that we have done, which has had such a huge success rate and has been massively effective, is we have promoted bilingualism, multilingualism. We've promoted the idea that having another language is a superpower. We have done a video that celebrates International Languages Day, which has been shared with forms. We've now got language ambassadors as well who represent the school. They help with the buddy system for new students as well. And yeah, it's mainly the main thing that we've really done is we've raised that awareness of EAL students, INA students, and to sort of take away that stigma that, oh my goodness, I've got an EAL student. Oh no, what am I going to do with them? Well, the first thing you look on Sims, see what their language proficiency is, and then go from there. So it's removing those barriers between the teacher and the student, as well as removing those barriers between the students as peers as well, so that they're actually celebrating the fantastic superpowers that our students have got. I think we've done more than that, but that in a nutshell, we've only got 10 minutes, so that's what we've done.
Thank you very much. I think one question I'd like to ask people, now I think I know the answer to this, but I can't remember the exact number is. You both are very close to being full-time teachers. You have a little bit of time each week to do this coordination. How much is it that you get?
We get 6 hours a fortnight.
6 hours a fortnight.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a huge difference you've made in a very small amount of time. I mean, my 23 weeks that I said, well, 23 times, if it's 6 hours a fortnight, it's 3 hours a week. So it's actually less than 70 hours. When I came to see you, you managed to make that change in, which I think is really impressive. And as I talked to staff, they were all very clear that they'd been empowered by what you were doing, and that things were changing very, very rapidly. And I'm sure now, nearly 3 months on, you've made a lot more progress.
Yeah, I think they're sick of our emails, to be honest.
Yeah. So, well done.